And Hogan went up there and basically said that he did steroids. Vince never sold them to him. Vince never gave them to him. Vince never told him he had to do it. Everything that he did was as of his own choice. And the federal government lost their case against Vince McMahon. Vince went back to running the WWF. There was never a turnover to the Jarretts. They just picked up and they tried to move on like nothing had ever happened, even though they had no Hulk Hogan, and it was a star that was going to be happening to replace. The first guy that they tried to do was Lex Luger with Lex Express, where he went in there and he body slammed Yokozuna on the U.S. Intrepid, and then that boosted his title shot for SummerSlam. Even though he won the match due to count out, there was a stipulation that he would never get another title shot if he didn't win it there. So he ended up having to win the Royal Rumble, which was the big WrestleMania 10 storyline. Why Lex is not in the Hall of Fame, I've got no clue. The guy was a big star. He did a lot for wrestling. He was not Hulk Hogan, like Vince McMahon said. So they would have a new crop of guys. They would have Brett, Razor, Shawn Michaels. They would have Diesel. They were the so-called stars of the new generation. As long as having Undertaker out there, who had been around for a little while. Bret the Hitman Hart said that those 5 wrestlers were the best wrestlers in the history of wrestling. That they basically ran the company and they could outperform anybody. The main problem with the new generation was the undercard. Vince didn't have a full card of stars. You were looking at guys like the Smoking Guns, Doink, Crush. They had big colors, they had bright lights, but there was just not that exclamation. In the 80s, they took stars from every different organization. Basically, if there was a company that was out there and you were one of the top 2, if not the top 3 guys in that territory, you were coming to work for Vince. Everybody on that card from the top to the bottom. It's kind of like when you talk about like a guy on an NFL team or a guy on an NBA team. Anybody that's on that roster at one point in high school, if not in college, was the best player on their team. They might not be one of the best players in the NBA or the NFL, but you put him out there against anybody else. I'm talking like pros versus Joes or anything like that. They're going to get smoked. The worst basketball player could go out there on the court with me, and they're going to beat me 21-0 every time. I'm not getting nothing off. So that's kind of the problem with the new generation, is that they had great main events, they had horrible undercards, but they were building and they were trying.